Hi, welcome to today's live. I'm just waiting for Deepa Sapra to join. Hope you're all well. Hi,
Hi. Oh, so good to be here.
good to have you here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been teaching back to back all morning, but good.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it, doing what you do. I'm starting a few people join in. I see people coming on. And also, obviously, to begin with, thank you for being here. To give you some insight, Deepa is an incredible yoga therapist with so much extensive experience. She does one-to-one sessions, group sessions. She's trained and certified to glass walk, fire walk. We'll also be getting into her National Health Service work as well, hopefully at one point. I'll let her do the rest of the actual introduction. And to begin with, how did you start your journey as a yoga therapist?
So I took my very first yoga class when I'm talking like this is 20 some odd years ago. And the way the teacher, he was this a proper yogi with orange clothes, long hair, beard, just to give an idea because we have this image of bendy, flexible, sexy women doing yoga when that's not the case. It's way beyond that. And so when I took my first class, the way he explained every asana's pose, the way he broke it down, and we didn't do the pose once, next, next. It was slow and it was a very embodied yoga practice. And then I started taking yoga sessions at other studios and I'm like, but then what was that? If this is yoga, what was that? This feels like a workout. And I was clashing. But anyhow, back to my very first yoga session. And I was actually swept off my feet with everything I was learning. And the individual I took with me, she wanted to go because she wanted to lose weight and she never went back. And I went back religiously week after week. And then finally, fast forward a number of years later, I did my 200-hour yoga teacher training. And I thought I'm going to walk into this teacher training, learn everything about yoga, walk out like a yogi. Oh my God. I was learning a drop in the ocean. I had more questions after the 200-hour teacher training than when I had walked in. It was just a certificate saying you can now teach yoga. And that's when I realized there's no way I'm stopping here. I want to really get in depth with yoga, and that's when I decided I'm going to be a yoga therapist. To be honest with you, that very first class felt therapeutic, and I wanted to teach at that level. That was the standard I had set for myself. Like, if I'm ever going to teach yoga, people are going to know what they're doing. And I always thought every class was like that, every teacher was like that. But there's so many sessions I attended. There was no meditation, there was no hardly any breath work, and the focus was strictly the pose. The focus was trying to do the handstand, which that has its place, no doubt. The challenging poses bring a sense of discipline, a sense of tapas. Tapas is fire, and you need to maintain that fire to dig deeper physically. Because when you explore physically, you explore mentally and emotionally, you expand and you realize, whoa, this is a mind, body, soul practice. And we were doing the physical and we were hardcore with the physical, but then there was no hardly any breath work and no meditation. Some classes even almost skipped the Shavasana. And I was like, Deepa Sapra ain't having this. Well, at that time it wasn't Deepa Sapra, but Deepa ain't having this. And as I evolved in my own journey, I realized and I grew and started to understand how I wanted to teach. And I did my yoga therapy training in London. I did my 200-hour teacher training in New York. Marriage brought me over to London, and I did my yoga therapy training at Yoga Campus. It took me like 2.5 years. It's a very long training, and there were clinics and there were case studies. It was really in depth. And through the process, I fell pregnant. I had a newborn, and it was, I have to say, such a great experience because I was very diligent with my practice. I showed up for my practice. And because I was learning to be a yoga therapist, I was a lot more equipped on how I can cater the practice for my needs as being pregnant, as living in a joint family, in a new country, in a new environment. Like, it was just mind-boggling on every level. And to get through that, because I can either allow that situation to knock me down or empower me. And had I not been through everything I went through to be a yoga therapist, I don't think I'd be sitting here because the resilience I gained.
I know that's so incredible. Obviously, like taking that all in terms of obviously giving everyone's background. As you can tell, when she's speaking, she's originally from New York, and so she has her own flavour to it. And also, as you rightfully say, actually looking at what obviously today's topic was as well, that yoga is so much more about the poses. And you're right, we all might have certain ideas about what yoga is. So more mainstream or maybe even Western ideology of it might be that it's predominantly women, there's a certain way to look or to be. And looking at your experience, that's not what you found in what you were taught and the practices of yoga.
I have to say, the universe, instead of ending up at a yoga studio boutique, I ended up at an ashram for my first yoga class. The fact that that happened, it changed my world. Had I gone to a normal yoga class, I don't think I would have gone back because I would have been put off because I don't look like those women. I don't bend like those women. I don't wear the fancy yoga clothes like those women. It would have been done and dusted for me. And Deepa Sapra would have been in her accountancy role for the rest of her life.
And in terms of obviously, like you said, that mind body connection, almost as do go to yoga classes, if somebody doesn't, you would just assume it is the fitness side of things. Could you speak more to that about how it affects us on a emotional and a mental level?
Absolutely. Healing, a lot of our health concerns are lifestyle and mindset. And many people have every right to disagree with me because what I'm about to say might shake someone's world. And Dr. Deepak Chopra, in his book, Metahuman, confirms everything I thought, felt, and believed. So read the book Metahuman if what I'm about to say is going to shake your world. I meet so many people who say, my mom and dad are diabetic. I'm going to be diabetic. It's lifestyle, honey. You can avoid being diabetic by the way you live. If you've already accepted that you are diabetic, guess what? You are going to become diabetic because innately you're going to make those choices. On that note, a lot of times people come to me and say, I've got a back concern. And it turns out that, you know what, their pelvis was misaligned or something was misaligned in their spine. And their low back, because it's the weakest, ended up reacting to it. But how is it that if there's an issue in the shoulder, the back is hurting? There's an issue in the hip, the shoulder's hurting. We are one unit. We in yoga, we have the kosha system, and there are 5 layers. So as a human, we are just focused on the physical layer. But then there's the mind layer, then there's the energetic layer, then there's the emotional layer. And we must heal on every layer. If you are only focused on the physical layer, you will only get so far. But if you align your breath, you are working on your energetic body. By working on your energetic body, you are expanding your awareness. And you realize, wait a second, these emotions are fleeting. Right now, I'm angry at this person. I could strangle this person. But the next minute, you're like, you know what? They have their reasons. But we run with those emotions, not giving ourselves the space, choose our reaction because we think our emotions are so real. But when you work on the energetic layer, you work on the mental layer, the mental sheath, then you start to understand that if I start to view my world as a movie, I'm going to be less reactive. And that's what yoga is meant to teach you. People avoid yoga from my personal experience, like, but I'm not flexible. That's not a prerequisite. Why would you think you have to be flexible to do yoga? You come to yoga to become flexible, but you have to become flexible here. There's so much unlearning that we have to do as individuals. Let go of the titles, let go of your gender, let go of your upbringing, let go of your schooling to really come to the center of who you are. And that's what yoga does.
And I do agree that, like, yoga almost, I at least found in practicing with you, it's a very humbling experience. You're very much, you get grounded. It's you and that mat. And I'll be honest, as you rightfully say, I even came to yoga thinking you had to have a certain amount of fitness or flexibility. Even my mind, from like a psychotherapy background, was limited to how much it can be healing or you can develop in those layers, as you rightfully say.
And people need to be reminded that there are 8 limbs to yoga. And asana pose is one limb. In the Yoga Sutras, there are hundreds of sutras. Sutra is thread. So the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, they're little nuggets, little threads of how to embody yoga. And there are only 3 out of the hundreds, only 3 threads on poses. But yet we run with the poses. And then people are like, and yoga and meditation are the same. Yoga is meditation. But what about breath work? Breath work is yoga. Oh, they're not separate. Yoga is a practice of the 8 limbs of yoga. And everyone is just focused on the poses, and everyone is, and I don't blame them. It's what's represented. And it's quite frustrating because what they represent, and I'm going to say it for what it is a beautiful white woman, blonde hair, sexy clothes, fit as ever. And majority of us, I don't look like that. Yoga has been a part of my life for 20 years. I don't look like that. So should I stop doing yoga because I don't have her skin tone, her hair color, and her bendy body? I don't think so. So for me, I didn't realize this, but I feel like there is a part of my practice encouraging people, male, female, whatever, that yoga is for everybody. Don't do yoga, be yoga. From making your cup of tea, from brushing your teeth, to cooking your dinner, to having a meal with someone, to watching a movie, to reading a book. Stay rooted to your breath. That is yoga.
And saying that mindful and present energy, like you touched on, obviously, energy in terms of your classes, you talk about how it might be stored. Can you tell us more about that?
So my sessions entail the poses, the breath work, and the meditation. I don't think it's a yoga class if all of it is not combined. And in the lessons, I, I, I sneak in the 8 limbs of yoga where there's truthfulness, there's, withdrawing from your senses and understanding that your senses can trick you. Your senses can are conditioned, but your soul is not. I encourage people to see from their third eye. So when we do a breath work, the alternate nostril breathing, I encourage them to press their 2 fingers on their third eye, because these eyes, I'm super, super grateful for them. I don't fall. I still fall and trip, but I'm less likely to fall. I can be aware of my environment, but don't view the world with these eyes. View the world from your third eye. Drive a car with these 2 eyes, but if someone cuts you off, don't react with these eyes. React with your third eye, because your third eye comes from a place of oneness. These eyes come from a place of duality. So it's these little, I say little, but these meaningful topics that I can tap into whilst teaching. And even if they walk away with one thing, like, I'm going to stay rooted to my breath, or you know what, I'm going to stay focused on my third, that's a big deal, because then you as an individual create a ripple effect around you. I personally know that in my household, if I'm off track, mama's off track, best behavior. But when I'm calm and steady, which I hope most days, everyone around me is aware of that. So my presence, my practice is important for any class I teach, because when I'm balanced, then I'm putting that energy out there. It's a ripple effect. Then those people hopefully feel balanced, come from a place of neutrality, and then they have that ripple effect. So for me, it's like, every time you throw a pebble or a rock into the lake, the impact it's having. So yeah, teaching yoga is one thing, but being yoga and practicing yoga on your own, different ballgame. I tell everyone 1 hour a week with me is great. 15 minutes a day on your own is powerful. And everyone's like, really? Just 15 minutes? 5 minutes of poses, 5 minutes of breath work, 5 minutes of meditation. You set the tone. You set the tone, then you are in charge of the day, rather than the day being in charge of you and you feeling muddled down and bogged down. And every class of mine, you set the intention. Every class of mine, I encourage you to dig a little deeper physically, because when you dig a little deeper physically, your body's letting go of something. And as you let go, that's where the breath work is even more powerful. It really, your body embodies the breath work, and you connect with the life force, the pran, the pranamaya, the breath work helps you not just center, but come from a neutral space. Then you go into your meditation. And when you go into your meditation, your thoughts hopefully slow down and you can just be still. Your thoughts will never stop. That's a fact. The way your heart pumps, your mind thinks. You can never stop them, but it's how much attention you're giving to your thoughts. I could go on and on.
I appreciate it. And it gives everybody that insight, though. It is a fact of not just being stuck in your body. Sometimes, obviously, we can think quite a lot. We all live quite overwhelming lives. We can get overwhelmed and burdened by that. And almost as you speak, energy or your thoughts can help, well, they can influence how things show up, either
Yes.
in your body or even how you react and respond to others outside of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Our reaction plays a big role in our life, in our day to day. And when you understand that between every inhale and every exhale, there's a pause, you master that pause, you bring awareness to that pause, then you know you always have a choice. And then when you're watching those choices, you are mindful of the decision you make. People ask me, Deepa, don't you miss New York? Of course I miss New York. I'm not going to sit there and cry about it, but I'm very aware that I fell in love with someone. I married that someone, and marrying that someone meant I'm going to have to move across the pond and leave everything I know. And when times got tough, because they did, that's life. I don't know anybody living or floating on a cloud. When times got tough, I had to remind myself I made a choice. And therefore, if I am here, no one else is responsible. And yoga gives you that sense of ownership. Like, I have to own up to this. Where did I go wrong? What can I learn from this? Rather than, I moved here because of you. It's the story you tell yourself. It's the narrative you give yourself. And yoga always reminds you that, if you center yourself, you'll realize that, wait a second, I made this choice. So I'm going to own up to it. And if I don't like it, I'm going to change it. And this is why I don't understand when people tell me, but I feel stuck, but I feel this, but I feel that. You feel it, but you're not sitting with it. You're not owning up to it. We are meant to feel things. You don't feel it, you burn your hand, you go on fire, you won't be able to save yourself. You're meant to feel things. But how in depth you go with it, that's in your hands. And the blame game is a comfortable space. Yoga doesn't allow you to blame anyone. If yoga works for you, it's because you showed up and did the practice. If yoga doesn't work for you, that means you're not doing the practice. And yoga's not going to work in one session. Yoga's not going to work in 1 week. You might feel better, but yoga is a practice. It's not a destination.
I know, it's like an evolving journey. Yourself, you go through it, you see yourself shift, but it doesn't happen overnight. If I can only talk about my experience and even other people that I've heard speak about yoga, we sometimes go into it talking about intentions with one goal and then we realize something else as we're practicing. But I do realize in my practice with you, it can almost force you to face some things that you're running from. Like you said, you get from your practice what you want to put in. Everything comes at a standstill.
Absolutely. And this is why I love focusing on the chakra system or the chakra system, not chakra, people, not chakra, chakra. So I like to incorporate the chakra system because every wheel gives you an understanding of how you are meant to be living and how you reach this place of nirvana and bliss. And some people, it takes lifetimes to get there. But our root chakra is about your foundation, your insecurities, your security, your fears. And that's all passed on to us. People don't realize that a lot of our fears are passed on to us because our root chakra, our Muladhara chakra, which is in the perineum. Hello?
Hi, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I can hear you, but it's frozen, so I thought I'd wait. There. Okay, better. Um, is developed in the womb up until we're about 12 months old, 1 years old. And a lot of the stuff is passed on to us. Then comes the sacral chakra. This chakra is responsible for our desires. And people feel shame and they feel embarrassed or guilt when it comes to sex. It's such an awkward topic for people. But again, if your foundation is not strong, if it's off balance, then we can feel insecure being in an intimate relationship, and not just with someone else, even with yourself. You know, how often do you look at yourself and appreciate what you see? I'm not saying drool over yourself. I'm not saying be, you know, but appreciate, be grateful for your legs, for your torso, for your arms. Then we have the solar plexus. That is your gut, the motivation, the determination that we carry. And many people, oh, I'm like, I put the pro in procrastination. Bring balance to your solar plexus. And then comes the heart chakra, the anahat chakra, which is linked to our spirituality. And this is where it gets even more esoteric. And our heart chakra, it holds everything, all the emotions we experience, how we view the world, it all comes from here. And if it's off balance, then you don't come from a place of love. If anything, your love is very conditioned. And then you have your Vishuddhi, your throat chakra, which is your creativity, your communication. And I feel like people struggle to communicate. People, and I'm texting and doing this with my hands because that's how people communicate. And they lack creativity. And our Vishuddhi is deeply connected to our sacral chakra. And that link, you know, communication, desire, choices, creativity, expressing yourself. Yes, on one hand, people are able to express themselves even more with the likes of social media, but when they're off social media, they struggle. Then we have the third eye. And this is where the magic really starts to take place. And then you have your ground chakra, where you can experience bliss or nirvana. And every pose plays a very deep role with your chakra system. And when you have an understanding of your chakras, you practice accordingly and you bring balance to yourself. So even, yeah, when I teach, I try my best to share everything. Like, you're doing this twist, feel it in your solar plexus, bring balance to your solar plexus, massage your organs, and release excess, release the stale, stagnant energy.
And flows really help with that, as you call it, when you go from one movement to another. And like you said, you're mindful and connected to your breath. You're fully present. So it is very much, yoga is so holistic. I know that sounds like such a blanket statement, but I underestimated what it involved. So as Deepa knows, I've known her for many years, even before we started practicing together. And from this standpoint, I was very much like, I do gym, I do fitness, that's enough for my mental health, that helps my work. But with yoga, it did root me. As you say, you're very much in tune with, okay, you stop and think about the energy you're bringing. Your mind does chatter though. I even noticed that I said that to you. We go into thinking mode. We may be like, oh, I feel frustrated or I can't hold a balance. But it's incredible how you let go of that chatter as time goes on. As you become more present, it subsides. And like you said, you start to then think about, obviously, with your teaching, how energy is showing up in your body. It's not as simple as saying, well, my back hurts or my shoulder hurts and isolating it. I think that's what we do as human beings. We just center on one thing and think that is
Yeah.
all it is.
You're cutting off.
Can you see the signal now? Am I back?
What'd you say? I just see the circle.
I can hear you for now. Can you see me now?
Okay, good. Perfect. It's good. It's good now. um, yeah, yoga does really, it forces you to sit down and be with your thoughts and emotions. And that's why I feel like many times people run away because their expectation is, I don't know, something like fit along the lines of fitness. And again, because that is what is being portrayed um, all around them about yoga. And when they actually come to one of my sessions, it's like, oh, this is different. Like, okay, I didn't know yoga is meditation. Oh, I didn't know yoga is about deep breathing. And a lot of times people stick to me like glue, like, girl, I found you. This is what I need. It's going to help me with my fitness journey as well. It helps you with any and every area of your life. And I also get a lot of comments like, but I'm a practicing whatever faith.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good for you. What does yoga have to do with your faith? If anything, yoga will bring you closer to your faith because you're gonna shed, pardon my language, the bullshit away and be an even more honest practitioner of your faith. Because a lot of, from my personal experience, there were a lot of things that happened religiously that didn't make sense, but we just did it on a societal level. But then having the responsibility, like, okay, we're doing this. Nobody can explain to me why we're doing this. I'm going to research it. I'm going to look into it. And then when you go on that journey, you start to explore and you start to understand. And then you start to apply and you start to live it. So many people, I've got people from the Islamic background, Sikh faith, Hindu faith, Christian faith, practicing yoga with me. Yoga does come from India. Um, there are a lot of um, Sanskrit chants, but
Mm-hmm.
the chants are not for Hindus only. It is very universal. But Sanskrit was like Latin, one of the first languages. So, yeah.
No, thank you for sharing that. Because people can have an idea that yoga is attached to either a particular faith, its origins, but in itself, you've described this to me as well. It can be a spiritual practice for you as well. But spirituality is very different to having a set faith.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why I feel like even today I practice with a group of women and all different faiths, and it fills my heart up that through the practice of yoga, different colors, different backgrounds, different sizes are coming together. And the joy, the warmth in that session is so deep because none of us are looking at each other like, oh, you're so and so. There's no judgment, there's no um, assumption. And now we all walk away from each other coming from that place. And when I see people around me, I'm carrying that same energy. So, people, the beauty of yoga is you become responsible. You understand that, okay, my emotions, my thoughts, my reaction, how am I going to do this? How am I going to? And it's hard. It can get ugly. I particularly, personally, when I first moved here and I was facing my challenges here, I would lie down on a bolster. I'd line up the bolster against my spine, open up my heart, lie down on the bolster, and cry. I mean, ugly cry. But when I would come out of that pose 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes later, I felt lighter. Did it change my circumstances? No. Did it change? Did it undo the problem? Did I go back in time and manipulated the situation? No. But my perspective changed. My outlook changed because I felt lighter. And then you remind yourself, this shall pass too. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is fixed. And we feel like our emotions, like, oh my God, I'm feeling anxious. Anxiety is wonderful. There's a dog running after you. You're not going to be like, hi. You're going to run your tail off. If a bad guy is chasing you, you're going to run your tail off. You want that. You need that. Our body's protecting us. But being anxious for 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day is very different from being anxious constantly. Recently, I started working with someone, and she told me she's a very dedicated runner. And I've noticed people who run almost every day, my personal link with them is that they tend to be very anxious. And the run helps them calm down. Physically, it calms them down. Mentally, it calms them down, but it doesn't really get to the root. And she did yoga with me twice. And she's just like, I've never felt so calm in my life. And she's in her 40s. And to hear that she experienced a bit of calmness, it's so empowering. It just, every day I am reinforced that I am on the right path, that I get to see people unfold. Obviously, with the reminder that you're doing the work, you're doing the practice. She could have just sat there and not done the breathing. She could have just floated through the class and carried on, but she actually did the breath work, and hence she felt the difference.
It's incredible in that sense as well. Like you said, as much as we can do one form of fitness or we have one way of being, yoga can also be added to your life, and you can see how you benefit and how even your reaction is and how your presence is, and as you've touched on, energy is. Yes, you mentioned there about opening your heart up. I know you say to me, wow, if something feels sort of stuck in this area, to do kind of heart openers as you call them, and it really makes a difference.
Emotionally, we store so much baggage. It's literally like carrying 2 suitcases of bricks every moment of the day. And then you take those suitcases and you get in bed and you put the suitcases on top of you. The day you learn to breathe, the day you learn and embrace the practice of meditation, you realize, I need to put these suitcases down and start walking freely, start sleeping better. Sleep, the best form of healing. But nowadays, people hardly sleep. People think it's a waste of time. People think, I'll sleep when I'm dead. But you know what? You're cutting your life almost in half by not sleeping properly. Get your 8 hours of sleep. Show up, do your 15 minutes of yoga. And that entails the breath work, that entails the meditation, that entails the poses. Set the tone for your day. Set an intention for your day. Even though throughout the day you might forget your intention, but subconsciously you remember it. And once you set the tone for your day, you are living yoga. You are showing up for yourself. You are filling your cup up before you start your day. It's a lifestyle. Eat mindfully, think mindfully, read mindfully, spend time with people who encourage you, who uplift you, who push you, who get you a little bit uncomfortable. And watch, everything falls into place. All those hyper emotions start to calm down. Does this mean they won't come back? If you've been anxious for 15, 20 years, of course it's going to creep back. If you've had a bad experience, recently I did a pose, reclining queen with someone. And I like to put a sandbag, some weight, depending on the restorative pose. And when I do reclining queen, I put it on their feet. And bless this woman. She kept it together for a good 3-4 minutes. After 3 minutes, she goes, "Can you take the weight off my feet?" I was like, "Sure." I didn't get into it with her at that time. I took the sandbag off her feet, and after the pose ended, because she held it for a good 10 minutes, she came out and she's like, "I'm so sorry." I was like, "Don't apologize, but this is new for me. Why is the weight bothering your feet? Was it too heavy?" She goes, "No." She goes, "I felt confined and restricted. And when my feet feel weighed down, I feel like I need to escape." Her body relived something. She goes, "I kept it together for a few minutes. And in my mind, I'm thinking, yep, this is good. I'll keep it together. I'm going to stay rooted to my breath. And I'm going to pretend that weight is not there." But her body, like her feet started to heat up. Her legs started to heat up. And she couldn't take it. For some reason, her body was reliving whatever trauma or whatever experience she had. These things happen. But she was grateful that for 3 minutes, she kept it together. She can't keep her feet under the blanket, or like if it just, and it's our body protecting us. And when you realize how above and beyond your body goes to protect you, then you need to show up for your body and protect it by doing the right thing by your body, by showing up, meditating, doing the breath work, eating right, thinking right, drinking water, staying hydrated, sleeping, doing everything you need to do to maintain this beautiful vessel we have been gifted.
And I love that. It's a way of living yoga, like you rightfully say. And just for anybody there, restorative, I've practiced that as well. It's actually slowing everything down. You hold a pose or a flow for longer. And you're right, it can tap into sometimes emotions, like you said, trauma sometimes, obviously bringing it to the surface, but still in a way that's safe. Of course, you're qualified and able to work with that, and you're always mindful and inquisitive about what's coming up for your clients. That I do know. So that's able to guide the person through that as well, if something does come up from their practice.
Because my immediate reaction was, she needs to be compassionate, because I sensed, don't judge yourself for taking the weight off. You did the right thing by telling me, and not suffocating yourself emotionally that this weight is on my feet, and missing the whole experience of reclining queen or reclined queen. And it's like, be proud of yourself, because compassion starts with you. When you practice true compassion for yourself, then you are oozing with compassion for others.
It's true. It kind of starts inward, like you
Yes.
said, that it ripples out to the people around you. As much as your practice is for you, it does manifest and show up in how you engage with all the situations and environments and spaces you're in.
And the fact that people feel calmer, the fact that people are living a fuller life, I feel like we are cheating ourselves by not staying rooted to your breath, by not experiencing neutrality. You are cheating yourself of a beautiful life. And this is why I feel like energetically in the world, there are great things, not so great things happening, and you can feel the energy. And your energy, whatever you feel, is a reflection of what's happening within you. And this is why we need to connect on a deeper level. Everyone's connecting with social media. Everyone's connecting with gadgets. Everyone's connecting with people over alcohol. How about we connect with the moon? How about we connect with the sun? How about we understand how they play a role on us and how you can actually use them? The way you plug your phone into the wall to charge up, how can you plug yourself to the sun and charge up? How can you plug yourself to the moon and charge up? How can you plug yourself to the earth and charge? And this is what I bring up in yoga. Connect on a universal level, connect on an internal level, and watch you live a fuller life. People tell me, I'm carrying this weight, I need to forgive. Now, this might strike people the wrong way, and I apologize. But one day, as you unfold on this journey, you will appreciate what I'm saying. When people say, I need to forgive, who are you to forgive? If I am you, you are me, we are all one. Who are you to forgive? On a surface level, on a physical level, write the letter during the full moon, burn the letter, forgive the person. Put the letter in the river, let the letter float away, and hopefully energetically that person will get the message. You do the work to forgive them, because on a surface level you need to. But on an energetic level, on a soulful level, we're all one. And that's where yoga, you are the moon, you are the sun, we carry the 5 elements of the earth. Everyone does. So why are you so different from me? We all have lessons to learn. We all have unfolding to do. Stop focusing on the messenger and focus on the message. When you learn to focus on the message, that's when you, okay, I've climbed one step. And take baby steps in your journey. Unfold 1% a day. Every day, maybe I can start drinking 1 extra glass of water. That's not hard. That just means you'll drink 1 less cup of tea, 1 less cup of a caffeinated drink, and have another glass of water. How subtle is that shift? But it's so profound when you make a subtle shift every day, 1%. And this is why I've started the meditation sessions, because by me meditating, there's an impact in my household. By you meditating, there's an impact on in your household. If I get 100 people meditating, 100 households are balanced. I can try to get all of London to meditate. Just imagine the vibration elevating and having that ripple effect. Balanced people don't shoot, kill, hurt, harm. Balanced people step back and absorb and bring awareness to the situation, then react. When you're off balance, you allow your emotions to charge forward. And this is why every Wednesday from 5:15 in the morning, this is to also encourage people to wake up at that hour. That hour is so pure. Between 2 and 5 a.m., you're dancing with the angels. It's the purest, the most spiritual time to be with yourself. And people who wake up around that hour to meditate, to pray, to have some sort of deep spiritual connection, even if it's with a cup of tea or coffee, there's a sense of calm, balance, and neutrality. And that's why at that hour every Wednesday, it's like, you know what? It's free. If I want to bring a shift on a worldly level, I need to show up. And I'm going to show up every Wednesday, 45 minutes, straight up meditation. And people are like, I normally do 10 minutes, but now I can do, 20 minutes on my own. Game changer. So, yeah.
That's incredible. I know we could carry on talking about so many things. And I know I think if there's any sort of questions, now would be the time to kind of put it in. I know James there mentioned, but I think you touched onto it, with yoga it being that way. He's asked, do you, is it important to decolonize yoga rather, in the fact of how we perceive it? You've touched on it being a kind of Western template and how that might affect some people's understanding of yoga already.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think 2 months ago, I was at this crossroad. I saw someone teach a yoga class with alcohol. It was drunk yoga or something. Oh my God. I felt like I'm booking my ticket. I'm gonna hunt this person down. It was like full-fledged New York mode. That was it. I did share it. I did write about it to bring awareness that this is not yoga. This is just someone trying to make a living. I had to balance my emotions and sit with it. And I thought, do I want to go on a journey of decolonizing? Do I want to go on that mission? But I already am. The way I believe I've been gifted to teach yoga. And that is decolonizing. That is showing up with the skin color that I have, with the hair that I have, with the body type that I have. I am breaking that mindset of what is being represented. I am encouraging people to look at yoga as meditation, as breath work, not just poses. So, yeah, it's happening. I'm already doing it. I just need to be louder about it.
And on that note, of course, I know you live and breathe everything that you're saying. How can people reach out and connect with you so they can get some of this insights that you briefly share?
I'm going to say this with the utmost love and respect. If you are willing to go on a journey to unlearn and unfold, then reach out to me either through Instagram, because I do, um, a lot of people do reach out, and I find it to be a wonderful platform if people want to communicate and understand where I teach, how I teach, why I teach, or straight through my website. All my classes are there. It's www.deepasapra.com. It's just my name. And you can see the moon sessions, the sun sessions, the normal yoga classes, my shala. I have a circle of shala with over 100 members around the world. In fact, I just spoke to one of the members. She's American, living in Barcelona, and she's a shala member. And it, even though we're so far apart, yet we're so close together in this circle of shala. And every Monday, the Shala members practice yoga with me, either 6 a.m. or 9 p.m. And then we all meditate together. Everything's recorded. So there's a Shala library. And now we're going to be doing Shala meetups. And it's such a beautiful, like, I can't speak for the Shala members. I can speak for myself. Like, it's so cool. I totally love it. Um, and yeah, that's how they can reach out.
Yes, it is having that interconnectedness. I am a Shalom member, even without being biased, but it does connect us. And like you said, it's having that space to also breathe and be, and also have that authenticity and tap into yourself in ways that maybe in other spaces you can't fully be yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
thank
Ken, you are. Sorry,
yeah,
I just saw that. I love you, Ken.
thank you so much. And just know that I appreciate you for joining. And if anybody has any other questions afterwards, we'll make sure we link everything, Deepa's information as well below when we upload this video. But I know time has sort of come to an end because she's going to go back to teaching classes and getting on with her day. And thank you so much for everybody else's comments and engaging. We are very grateful and appreciative of that.
Thank you. And if I've said anything to hurt anyone, I apologize. But if I've triggered you, sit down with it, breathe with it, journal it. And maybe it's not me. Maybe it's something you need to um, bring more awareness towards, or sort of unlearn. and embrace a new perspective. Love you. Thank you. Hi, Beth.
Thank you, Bev. Thank you so much. And take care of yourselves. And we look forward to seeing you next time on another live. Thank you, Ham.
Thank you.
Bye bye, everyone.